Welcome to our YouTube channel titled VCB Vinyl City Broadcasting, your transit express to rock and roll trivia. I'm Marie, the host of VCB. I need to catch the downtown express to the Village. For those of you out there that don't live around the New York metropolitan area, it's Greenwich Village, and I need to get to the Village Hat Shop. Remember the Village Gate? Cafe Wa? Back in the day. Sure you do.
This is Times Square, 42nd Street.
Transfer is available to the 1.
Rico, I tried to get a bowler like Eugene Pitt, but the salesman in the store looked at me funny and said, "I don't think so, lady." What do you think he meant by that? I'll be in the office shortly. You know, Rico, Eugene and I have similar bowlers. What do you think?
It's time to start the show, Marie.
Okay. You know, Eugene Pitt is from Brooklyn, New York, and he was the founding member of the Jive Five. In 1959, he, together with Jerome Hanna, Richard Harris, Norman Johnson, and Billy Prophet, formed the Jive Five. Among their classic doo-wop recordings released on Belltone Records were My True Story, Never Never, and What Time Is It? We had the pleasure of seeing them perform at a doo-wop show that was held at the Highlander Auditorium in Upland, California on July 16, 2016. What a great show he and his backup group, the Royals, put on. Dan Pequeno, one of our outside reporters and contributors to VCB, did the interview. We have Dan with us today, as he's going to give us a recap of the interview he did with the man himself. You want to send him in, Rico?
All right, here he comes.
Marie,
Yeah.
good to see you again. Last time we came together, we were doing a little recap of a video that we did with Mr. Terry Johnson, one of the original members of the Flamingos.
We certainly were. And it's so nice to see you again, Dan.
Well, thank you.
You're looking dapper as ever.
Thank you again.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that interview you did with Eugene. Bring us up to speed.
That'll be a pleasure. Eugene Pitt was part of the doo-wop concert that we saw up there in Upland, California. And Eugene Pitt performed his song, My True Story, just like I remembered it on the record in 1961. But he and some other artists showed up at midnight.
Oh, boy.
After the concert.
Oh,
and
wow.
you'd think these people would want to be going to bed, but no. They were happy to come visit with Vinyl City Broadcasting for their interview. We sat down. He was sitting on my left, like where you are right now, and he was asking me what we were doing, and I told him. And he goes, "Hey, let's do this interview." So we got to learn about him as a person, his history, and he told us about him going into the recording studio and recording the song My True Story, where somebody in the studio said, "Eugene, that's a hit." And when he said that, I was telling myself, you know what? If I was in that studio, I would have said the same thing. So, what do you say we have Rico roll that video right now?
Yes.
Hi, Dan again from Vinyl City Broadcasting, and right here on my left, Mr. Eugene Pitt of Jive Five. When I think of rock and roll, I truly do think of the song, My True Story. What trivia would you like to tell us about you or the song, Gene?
Well, I'm a part of the song, so I can tell you about both.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're the man.
My True Story is a true story. It's a song that I wrote back in 1953. I wrote the song, and at the time I wasn't recording until I met a Miss Oscar Walser. I was working in a Key Food in Brooklyn. I was the stock clerk. And I was singing one day, and she walked into the store, and she heard me singing, and she said, "Wow, you can sing. So you should come see my husband because he's a songwriter.
Hey!
He's a musician." So I said, "Yeah, all right." Time went by. It was like maybe a week or two later. She came back. She said, "I told my husband about you." I thought she was really just, somebody. So she said, "Well, why don't you come around and see my husband?" So when I got off from work that day, I went around and I met Mr. Walser, Oscar Walser. And he told me, he said, "Yeah, my wife was telling me about you. Said you can really sing." He said, "Sing something for me." I said, "You really want me to sing? I got a group." He said, "Oh, you have a group?" I said, "Yeah, I have a group." He said, "Well, when can I hear your group sing?" I said, "Whoa." He started playing on the piano, showed me he was a piano teacher and that he was all about music. So I said, "Well, I'll bring my group around this weekend." He said, "Yeah, okay, y'all can come around and we have dinner." I said, "Wow, that's all right." So I went home and I told the fellas, we got a audition with this guy that writes music and stuff like that. So they were, like very excited about it. And that Saturday, we got together and we went to Mr. Walser's house. So we were there. He had a son, Neil, Miss Walser, and Jeff. They were there at the house. So we went in and we said, your father want to hear us sing.
What a great interview, Dan. The VCB team also had the pleasure of spending some quality time with Eugene after the interview. As Dan said, it was quite late, and we really appreciate that Eugene gave us some of his time. Unfortunately, we also had some technical difficulties that evening, and we didn't get all of the interview. We apologize. But half of Eugene is better than no Eugene at all. He's a Brooklynite, and they know how to do it right. Rico, why don't you put up some of the pictures we took at the meet and greet and the mock-up billboard ad you designed for him? First, this was a billboard comp that Rico designed, and as the headline says, "What time is it?" It's time for all of you to get out and support the music that has been a part of your rock and roll DNA since the first time you heard My True Story. It would make Eugene a happy man. Second, put up the other two pictures. The one of Debbie presenting him with a 45 RPM rock and roll clock that she designed specifically for him, and the other of Eugene at the meet and greet table holding a picture of the group. You know I really love Eugene's suit, Rico.
I wonder how I would look in a suit like that, Marie.
I don't think you could pull it off, Rico. Now next month, we're going to be interviewing two local friends of ours who have been instrumental in keeping the music alive. First, Mr. Peter King of the Royals, an accomplished a cappella group that has shared the stage with many of the legends of doo-wop. And he also sings background for Jimmy Stevens of the Safaris. Our other guest, local DJ who goes by the AKA the Z-Man, Mike Zuccaro, who is a staple in San Diego and has hosted a radio doo-wop show called The Sock Hop. Be tuned in next month's show for the best in a cappella and doo-wop entertainment. We need to get out of here, Rico. But before we do, I want to thank Dan Pequeno for stopping by and giving us that introduction to the interview he had with Mr. Pitt. I'd like to go back to the village tonight, Rico, and check out the village hat store again. I really think the salesperson was going to sell me a bowler just like Mr. Pitt. And that ain't no jive. Remember, all contact information for Eugene Pitt and VCB will be posted on our final slide. Also, if you missed any of our previous shows, just go to YouTube and type in VCB Vinyl City Broadcasting. Turn off the lights, Rico!
You know, one of these days, I need to get for myself a bowler hat. Just like the one Mr. Eugene Pitt has.
There is a story.